welcome to a special EWTN International Bookmark with Janusz Rosikon, who's a photographer, along with Grzegorz Gorny, the author of Vatican Secret Archives, Unknown Pages of Church History. We'll also talk a bit about their other book, Three Kings, 10 Mysteries, The Secrets of Christmas and Epiphany, published by Ignatius Press, available through the EWTN Religious Catalog. Welcome, both of you, to Bookmark.
Hello, welcome.
It's too bad that we don't have you in person, as we've had several times before, especially since you do such beautiful books.
Our book has 9 chapters. The first chapter tells the story of the Vatican Secret Archives from the time of St. Peter until today. And the first papal archive was in the travel bag of St. Mark, because the first papal archivist was St. Mark. He was secretary, translator, and guide of St. Peter. Most likely, the first papal archive contained list of baptized church members, lists of deacons, and correspondence of St. Peter. And over the long centuries, the archive grew, and today it's not a small travel bag, but a huge building in Vatican. And the next 8 chapters tell of different episodes in the history of the Catholic Church, such as, for example, the trial of the Templars, the Inquisition, the Crusades, the Conquest, the trial of Galileo, the French Revolution and genocide in Vendée, the Spanish Civil War, and pontificate of Pius XII.
Now, as far as the photography, and again, as I mentioned, the books are always beautiful, and you do such a great job, Janusz. How do you participate with Grzegorz in putting it together?
Yeah, we've met 10 years ago, and we prepared our first book about Saint Faustina. And Saint Faustina left a message from Jesus, 2 messages. One is a painting, and the second one is the prayer. So we decided that we will create books a little bit similar. So the half will be picture, the half will be the text. And until that time, we create 10 books. The very important book in the series, Witness to Mystery, were translated into 9 languages. Now the Vatican Secret Archive, just we publish, is published in English, Polish, and Croatian. Mm-hmm. So, and like always, I was expecting a photographic feast, and I was not disappointed, because visiting the Vatican Secret Archive, that was very, very emotional, very moving. We just passed through the gate with 6 bronze reliefs showing the history of Vatican Secret Archives, because what means secret? Mm-hmm. In Italian language, that was private. Mm-hmm. So when the popes moved from Rome to Viterbo, to Lyon, to Avignon, doesn't matter where, they kept with him all archives, because that was a private archives of the Pope. The archives grow and grow, and now is in this bunker we visited with Grzegorz, there are end-to-end 53 miles long shelves with millions of documents, because they are not documents who destroy especially. Of course, some documents were burned during the war, in especially until 16th century. But now they are trying to keep all in good condition. So this underground bunker made from reinforced concrete is very stable. Humidity is the same, temperature the same. It's impossible to pass to this bunker. We had to have special permission from the Monsignor Bishop Sergio Pagano for pass this border, like also to the another room. So that was for us fantastic time. Not
Right.
only for me like a photographer, but also for Grzegorz, because sometimes we take off from the shelf some books or documents.
Yes, yes. This visit in the Vatican Secret Archives was the great adventure for us, because the Vatican Secret Archives are the most important archives in the world. And this place, there are many documents about many secrets from the history of the church. We know there are many black legends and fake news about the church in the pop culture, and many false interpretations of the history are used against the church, and we wanted to looking for the true in these archives.
Right. Now, I noticed, Grzegorz, one of the topics you picked was the trial of the Knights Templar. Would you like to explain what that was about and why you focused on that particular black legend?
On the occasion of the Templar trials, I wrote about a major and significant discovery in the Vatican Secret Archives. In 2001, the Italian historian Dr. Barbara Frale discovered the so-called Chinon parchment. The Chinon parchment is the protocol of the interrogation of the Templar leaders, Jacques de Molay and his followers, by 3 emissaries of the Pope. And historians believed that this document was lost, but in 2001 it was found. And the Chinon parchment just got misfiled in the archives. And this document was found only by accident by Barbara Frale. And this is a very important discovery because it shows that Pope Clement V accused the Templar leaders. The King of France, Philip III, was responsible for the death of the Templars, because the Templars were a very rich order. They had a lot of money because they were bankers and fundraisers. They raised funds to organize a new crusade. And the King of France, Philip III, needed money because the state budget was empty. So he falsely accused the Knights Templar of heresy and moral corruption, arrested and confiscated treasures, he leading to the Templar trials. And the leaders of Templars were sentenced to death and burned at the stake. And then Philip III also forced Pope Clement V to condemn and dissolve the Knights Templar. Pope tried to save the Templars, but he was too weak. He was totally dependent of the King of France. Why? Because he lived in France. The French episcopate was on the king's side, not on the Pope's side. And Philip III threatened him with schism or detachment of France from the church. And Pope knew that the accusations were false and the Knights Templar were innocent. He decided to dissolve the order but save the Templars' leaders. Unfortunately, he failed. The king was too strong and the Pope was too weak. And the case of Templar trials shows how dangerous is the dependence of the spiritual power on secular power. We know various relations between spiritual power and secular power in the history, the cooperation, the tensions, the conflicts. But the worst is the dependence of spiritual power on secular power. Then the credibility of the church falls victim. And we wanted in our book to do justice to the Templars.
Of course, we also visit Chinon Castle in the Loire Valley, And we show practically the ruins of, from the interesting point of view, they are very nice. And in this castle is a Kudray tower where the imprisoned Templars, probably Jacques de Molay, carved very interesting graffiti. I think it's the first graffiti all over the world. On a cell wall, they show the crucifixion of Jesus Christ. We also walk on the staircase where Jacques Molay and his companions walk to their interrogation. So I spent several hours to trying to capture for our readers the atmosphere, the unusual atmosphere of this beautiful tower. So if you be in France, please visit this Chinon Castle, very nice place.
Right. Now, Grzegorz, you mentioned the King of France, and you also talked about then the Crusades. You also have a section on the Crusades, which are highly misunderstood. What did you find in looking into the archives?
The first crusade was proclaimed by Pope Urban II in 1096. During this time, the Islamic Caliph Al-Hakim persecuted Christians in Holy Land and demolished part of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. And the purpose of this crusade was to release the Holy Land and the tomb of Christ in Jerusalem from the hands of Muslims. And the first crusade was a success. Jerusalem was liberated in 1919. The Crusader state was created, the Latin Kingdom of Jerusalem, which lasted for about 19 years. Then the ruler of Egypt, Saladin the Great, conquered Jerusalem, and later the Crusaders organized many more crusades, but it wasn't possible to free Jerusalem. One of these attempts was the Third Crusade. But this crusade did not attack the Muslims in the Holy Land, but the Orthodox Christians in Byzantium. In 1204, the Crusaders captured and plundered the capital of Byzantium, Constantinople. Pope Innocent III was against it. He protested and even excommunicated the Crusaders, but they didn't obey him. And in Vatican Secret Archives, they are the documents of excommunication of these Crusaders by Pope Innocent III. And why the Pope was against it? Because the Crusaders were financially dependent of Venice, which had other plans. For Venice, enemy number one was the Byzantine Empire, and Venetians wanted to destroy Constantinople, and they did it with the hands of the Crusaders. And to this day, the conquest of Constantinople is a great problem in ecumenical relations between the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Church.
Now, Janusz, in your going through the archive, were you able then to photograph yourself some of the material inside the archive, and is that featured in the book, or were you basically, Janusz, taking material that already existed?
Yeah, I also took many photos, very intriguing, and for me was took a picture of the letter written by Polish King Jan Kazimierz to the Pope. But on the other hand, I also make a picture of a very interesting notes, not letter, nothing, because in 1441, the priest from Scotia walked to Rome for taking absolution, for seeking absolution, because he accidentally killed someone during the soccer game. And also this small fact, like King's letter, are kept in the Vatican Secret Archives, in generally speaking, Vatican Archives. So it's very interesting that not only the great documents are kept in the archives, but also the everyday notes, that nothing special happened, but is in 1441 there are notes. I took photographs. This photograph is in our book for showing that there are not very important and not important cases in Vatican Secret Archives. All must be noted.
Right, it's interesting. It gives you a snapshot of ordinary life in a sense at the same time. Now, Grzegorz, when you were researching the book and going through the various things in the archives, you've got, you know, the Inquisition, conquistadors, the trial of Galileo, the French Revolution, Pius XII. Which did you find the most interesting?
For me, the most interesting case is the Spanish Civil War. And in Rome, we met the Spanish priest, Professor Father Vicente Carcel Orti. He has been working in the Vatican Secret Archives for over 40 years. And he published around 3,000 documents in 7 volumes on the Spanish Civil War. And he documented many leftist crimes against priests, nuns, and religious during the Spanish Civil War. And left-wing Republicans murdered more than 6,000 clergymen. That is 12% of all consecrated persons in Spain. And the Republicans also destroyed and burned churches, chapels, seminaries, monasteries, episcopal palaces, works of art, books and archives, etc. And they have destroyed more than half of all churches in Spain. They were like the barbaric Vandals of ancient Rome. These were crimes of hatred against Christianity. And the ideology of the left wing in Spain was anti-religious, anti-clerical, and anti-Catholic. And the socialist leaders themselves said the Soviet Union was their role model. That say you had to build a brave new world where all people would be happy. But to build a new world, you must first tear down the old world. It's necessary to destroy religion first, because it's the pillar of the old order, and then destroy it without mercy, no mercy.
Yeah, but the head of the civil war was not in Spain, but in Moscow. So that was really clear when we visited Alcazar. In Alcazar is a museum, very moved museum, because Alcazar is a symbol for the Spanish right wing, like Masada for Jewish people. We visited this museum, and it's absolutely clear that that was a Russian officers, etc., and the NKVD, now KGB, organized a special disinformation action about this war. So many intellectuals like Hemingway wrote a book about civil war, but not true. this book. So for us that was absolutely
Quite
clear,
revealing,
and unfortunately this situation is still now, because we also visited the Valley of the Fallen, that built by General Franco in the first anniversary of the end of the Civil War. And an act of reconciliation, he selected the architects from the Basque and socialist camp who hostile to him. 40,000 urns with ashes of both nationalists and republicans killed all the from the Civil War were deposited there. Only the general was buried here, but a year ago, in 2019, by the decision of the socialist government, he was exhumed and transferred to his hometown. Now they are thinking about destroy this huge, beautiful cross who was in the Valley of the Fallen. So this visit in Spain was very moving to us, because we know very good the communist system we've got in Poland.
Right, exactly. Why it's important that you document these historical things, and that the Vatican has such a archive as the Vatican Secret Archives. Let's also talk in the closing moment, just get an overview of this other book, Grzegorz, entitled 3 Kings, 10 Mysteries, The Secrets of Christmas and the Epiphany. What was your idea behind putting this book together?
In all the books, we are looking for the truth. Like in the very important book, Witness to Mystery, we show all relics, all Christ relics. And as a matter of fact, there is a second edition in the United States, because many scientists try to examine again the Turin Shroud and another relics. So we've got very good news. So we updated this book.
And this Italian historian, Dr. Barbara Frale, who discovered the Chinon parchment, was author of the book about the Turin Shroud. And these discoveries in the Vatican Secret Archives and in other archives are very connected, and we show this in our books too.
And also in this book about 3 Kings, we showed that this history is a true history, is not a legend like not many years ago the scientists tried to show us that is a legend constructed because that was very important to construct a kind of legend that what's happened 2,000 years ago. I visited in Ireland those places from where the 3 kings or 3 magic went to the Jerusalem. And also in the books about St. Faustina, we went step by step the same road like St. Faustina, from his born place through the many places he was like nun, including of course Vilnius, where this very famous painting was made in 1934, and later to Krakow, where she died. And we want to show that is something unbelievable, that Jesus Christ give us the second prayer after Pater Noster, this the second prayer, and also the paintings. So we've got both word and picture.
Right.
So, but as a matter of fact, we publish more books. 5 of them are translated into English and published in the United States, but not all of our books. So maybe in the future.
Right. Well, very good. We hope to see more of them. They're beautiful books. Janusz Rosikon is the photographer, and Grzegorz Gorny, the author of Vatican Secret Archives, Unknown Pages of Church History. Also, the other book, 3 Kings, 10 Mysteries, The Secrets of Christmas and the Epiphany. Beautiful books, published by Ignatius, available through the EWTN Religious Catalog. EWTNRC.com, the place to find all of their books. I'm Doug Keck. Thank you so much, Janusz and Grzegorz, for joining us from Poland.